Gout Gout. 18 years old, Australian, a kid who runs faster than anyone his age has ever run. Some people said his record run was fake. They said the conditions were too perfect. On June 1st, 2026, World Athletics answered them, and now he is about to line up against the Olympic champion. Let's find out what happens next. On April 12th, 2026, at the Australian Athletics Championships in Sydney, Gout Gout crossed the finish line of the men's 200 meters in 19.67 seconds. That single number did three things at once. It shattered his own wind-legal personal best of 20.02. It broke the Australian national record for the first time in the event's modern era. And it took 0.02 seconds off the world under-20 record of 19.69 set by American Ariane Knighton in Eugene in 2022. But before anyone could celebrate, the question started. The wind reading at Sydney Olympic Park was plus 1.7 meters per second, just inside the legal limit of plus 2.0. Every sprinter in the final ran a personal best. The second-place finisher, Aidan Murphy, went from a previous best of 20.41 all the way down to 19.88. 7 of the finishers set personal bests, some improving their times by more than 0.2 of a second. To some people, that looked suspicious. It looked too good. What the doubters missed was sitting in plain sight. Sydney Olympic Park had just completed a full resurfacing of the track, its first upgrade in roughly a decade. The new surface, made of high-performance rubber, returns more energy to the foot with every stride. A freshly laid fast track produces a stack of personal bests. That is not suspicious. That is physics. The wind reading of plus 1.7 also had a precedent that cut against the doubters. Gout had run 19.98 in Brisbane in March 2025, becoming the first Australian to break 20 seconds in any conditions. That time was never counted because the wind read plus 3.6 meters per second. He had been on the wrong side of a wind ruling before. He knew exactly what legal felt like. On April 12th, his run was legal. Regardless, World Athletics launched its standard ratification process, which can take several months. The sport waited. While the record sat in the review process, people started doing the math. 19.67 seconds in the 200 meters places Gout Gout 16th on the all-time world list at any age. Only 15 men in the entire history of the sport have ever run faster. He is now directly ahead of Usain Bolt on the world under-20 all-time list. Bolt's personal best before his 20th birthday was 19.93. Gout beats that by 0.26 seconds. For context on how rare that is, his time would have placed third at the 2025 World Athletics Championships in Tokyo. It would have placed fifth at the 2024 Paris Olympics. At 18 years old, before ever competing in a senior global final, Gout is already running faster than the fields at the biggest meets on Earth. The Bolt comparison gets made constantly, and it is not wrong. Both athletes were 200-meter specialists first. Both dominated the junior ranks before breaking into the open world lists as teenagers. Both ran faster at 18 than any previous generation thought possible. The Oslo Diamond League's official preview even published a year-by-year comparison. At age 15, Bolt ran 20.58. At the same age, Gout ran 20.87. At 16, Bolt ran 20.13. Gout ran 20.04. At 17, Bolt ran 19.93. Gout ran 20.02. And now at 18, Gout has gone 19.67, while Bolt's best at the same age was 19.93. The gap between them is now 0.26 seconds. Every year, Gout closes the distance to Bolt's career arc, or surpasses it. Still, Gout himself pushed back on the hype. Before the race in Sydney, he had written one number in his notes, 19.75. He had been repeating it all week. After he crossed the line in something faster, his response was simple. I wrote down 19.75, and obviously 1967, you've got to love it. There was no explosion of emotion, just a kid who had predicted he would run fast and then ran faster. On June 1st, 2026, World Athletics published its official ratification of 6 brand new world records, and Gout Gout's 19.67 was among them. The official statement was short and direct. Australian sprinter Gout stormed to his World U20 200-meter record of 19.67 when retaining his title at the Australian Championships in Sydney on 12 April. The 18-year-old smashed his previous PB of 20.02, which was also the senior Oceanian record. He also took 0.02 off the World U20 record of 19.69 set by Ariane Knighton in Eugene in 2022. That is it. The record stands. The wind was legal. The track was legal. The drug testing requirements were met. Every box was checked. The doubts about the Sydney conditions, the questions about the personal bests, the online arguments about whether the run was real. All of it ended with one short official document. Gout Gout is the official world under-20 record holder in the 200 meters. Ratification does not erase all questions about where Gout stands in the bigger picture. 19.67 is a world under-20 record. It is not close to the senior world record. Usain Bolt ran 19.19 in Berlin in 2009. The gap between Gout's record and the absolute ceiling is nearly half a second, which in sprinting terms is substantial. Letsile Tebogo, who won the Olympic 200-meter gold in Paris in 2024, has a personal best of 19.46. That is more than 0.2 of a second faster than Gout's record. Noah Lyles holds the American record at 19.31. On the world senior all-time list, Gout sits 16th. He is not yet among the fastest men to ever run the event. He is the fastest teenager to ever run it. Those are two very different things. Gout also ran his record on a freshly resurfaced track in his home country, in front of a home crowd, with a favorable but legal tailwind. Repeating that performance under neutral or less helpful conditions in Europe this summer will be a genuine test. The question is not whether 19.67 was legitimate. It was. The question is whether it represents a ceiling or a floor. And Gout's own answer to that question is the most compelling part of his story. After finishing fourth in the 200-meter semifinal at the 2025 World Athletics Championships in Tokyo as a 17-year-old, he walked off the track and said, "The thing that I have on them is time. They may not have 15 years, but I've got 15 years for sure." That is not the talk of someone who thinks they have already arrived. On June 10, 2026, Gout Gout makes his senior Diamond League debut at the Bislett Games in Oslo, Norway. He lines up against Letsile Tebogo in the 200 meters, the first time these two athletes have ever met over the distance. Tebogo is the reigning Olympic champion. His personal best of 19.46 is the fifth fastest in history. He ran 19.96 to finish second at the Rabat Diamond League just weeks ago, which shows he is already in sharp form. Gout has a world under-20 record. Tebogo has an Olympic gold medal. This is not an even matchup on paper, and that is exactly what makes it worth watching.